You know, it was 50 years ago that Gerald R. Ford became the country's 38th president. And that 50-year milestone is being celebrated with an exhibit at the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum.
Yeah, it's called Ford at 50, Decisions That Defined a Presidency. And we've got some special guests in studio to tell us more about it. We've got the museum's curator, Brooke Clement, or director, excuse me, Brooke Clement on the far end. I'm like, that is not her title. Joins us with supervisory curator, Dr. Morel Lukey, a little closer to us. You guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Ford at 50. I got a chance to see it before it opened. How is it going, and why should people come see this?
Well, we opened Ford at 50 on August 9th, which was the 50th anniversary of his presidency, and it explores some of the key decisions that he made during his time in office. The exhibit has been going really well, and we've been really excited to have people explore these defining moments of his presidency, ranging from his decision to grant clemency to draft evaders and draft dodgers, pardoning Richard Nixon, attending the Helsinki Accords, which is a great achievement for human rights, and refusing to bail out New York City.
He did a lot of things, right? And so that is all on display, but we're getting some great shots of all the things that people could see. But as a curator, I mean, you kind of have to have favorites, right? I mean, you get to pick what goes in there. I mean, are there a couple that you're like, yeah, this is definitely my favorite, this is getting in there?
Well, it's one of those things where as I'm picking the objects, everyone is my favorite for whichever moment I'm looking at it, right? So it's hard to pick a favorite. Some of the ones that I really like the stories attached to them, we have a quilt, which was made out of scraps of clothes that were worn by children who were part of Operation Baby Lift, which was an effort at the end of the Vietnam War to bring children to the United States. So one of the sections of the exhibit talks about Ford's determination to help Vietnamese refugees at the end of the war. And so this quilt was made by a volunteer who participated in Operation Baby Lift. And there were all these scraps of clothes at the end. And so she made this quilt and gifted it to President Ford. So that's one of the items I think is really evocative and special.
Wonderful. And then, Brooke, we have a new part of this exhibit that just opened, talking about Betty Ford.
Yes.
The Blip, the Betty Blip. Let's talk about what this is all about.
So 50 years ago, Mrs. Ford was diagnosed with breast cancer, and at that time it wasn't really, talked about in public settings. The word breast was never really said in public settings, and she decided that she was going to go public with her diagnosis, with her treatments, and everything of that nature. And so we couldn't celebrate Ford at 50 without also celebrating and commemorating Mrs. Ford at 50. And so we're really proud to have this exhibit open that kind of talks about her role in destigmatizing the word breast cancer and getting more people to get out there and take preventative action.
Yeah, people who talk about it today can thank her for bringing that into the limelight, because we speak about it openly today, thankfully.
Yeah.
And Betty Ford has you have an event coming on the 17th, is that right? Betty, the League of Women Voters,
Grand
right?
Rapids Champions Women's Rights.
That's
so
right.
we are working with the Greater Grand Rapids Women's History Council and the Grand Rapids League of Women Voters to do a program talking about Betty Ford's role in joining the ERA and her role in advocating for the ERA and joining the League of Women Voters in 1976. And we'll have Dr. Liette Gidlow from Wayne State University visiting the museum that day.
That's cool.
Wonderful. And this, you guys have a whole plethora of events kind of really dedicated to this exhibit and all the things you do. Something coming up in December as well. Let's talk about that.
December.
Oh my goodness.
December 6th, the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Express.
Oh, you got
The
Is the train coming back?
The train is coming back. We'll have the display in the lobby. That's opening on December 6th.
Come on, that's
There
such a
you
big
go.
head. That's such a big head.
There's been so much other things. Like I can't. Like what is happening December 6th? Yeah. That's great. And we've got great programming in October and November too coming up. We've got Richard Norton Smith coming back and speaking with Hank Meyer about the 50th anniversary of the Nixon pardon. So we're really excited. We hope everyone comes out and enjoys it. And what we've heard from people who have been visiting too is even those that were around 50 years ago, they are enjoying the interactive nature of this Ford at 50 exhibit and the fact that it feels like they're like back in time.
Nostalgia, I'm sure, is coming back. A lot of nostalgia.
Well, these are things that they're not necessarily always talked about. They're things that are a little under the radar, but it sparks those memories for people who lived through them, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We should get people there. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
And you should do it maybe this weekend. Or, it's Monday. You got some time to plan it for this weekend, right? Go to forwardlibrarymuseum.gov for more information on all the great events and exhibits, and of course, what's happening with Ford at 50 right now. You can always call them 616-254-0400. Thanks for the time this morning, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.